There's a secret resting quietly in pockets, drawers, and dusty coffee cans across America. A secret stamped in copper and history. One small, unassuming coin, the 1964 D Mint mark Abraham Lincoln. 1-cent piece from Denver has recently shaken the numismatic world, with reports of examples fetching staggering prices, some climbing toward the realm of $821,000. How could something so ordinary, a single cent, carry the weight of a fortune? To understand, we must travel back to 1964, a year of political upheaval, silver shortages, and minting confusion that set the stage for one of the most intriguing mysteries in American coinage. In the early 1960s, the U.S. Mint faced an unexpected crisis. Silver, the backbone of American coinage, was vanishing. Hoarders, investors, and everyday citizens had begun withdrawing coins from circulation, convinced that rising metal prices would make their pocket change more valuable than face value itself. The government responded in a frenzy. Mints in Philadelphia and Denver were ordered to produce record-breaking numbers of coins, billions of them, to keep commerce alive. Among them, the familiar Lincoln 1-cent piece, bearing the calm, resolute face of the 16th president. But within this flood of copper came something different. The Denver Mint struck over 3.8 billion Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coins that year. Most were ordinary. Yet a few, perhaps only a handful, were struck under circumstances still debated today. Rumors persist of experimental strikes, planche mix-ups, and rare die variations. Some whisper of transitional errors, copper coins that should not exist, or proof-like surfaces made on dies reserved for another purpose. Whatever the truth, these select coins, bearing the small but unmistakable D beneath the date, became the subject of obsession among collectors, dealers, and fortune seekers. Here's where it gets even more fascinating. In 1964, the Mint had quietly suspended proof coin production for collectors due to the coin shortage. Instead, they issued what were called special mint sets the following year. But a few insiders, it seems, had already begun preparing proof dies before the order came to stop. Some experts believe a limited number of Denver-minted Lincoln 1-cent coins were struck with these proof-like dies, coins so sharp, so lustrous that they looked unlike any other Denver cent ever made. These weren't just coins. They were accidents of history, unintended masterpieces. Now imagine this. Somewhere, an elderly man sifts through his late father's cigar box. Among the buffalo nickels and tarnished silver dimes, he spots a reddish-brown 1964 D Lincoln 1-cent coin that gleams unnaturally in the light. He brings it to a local coin shop, more out of curiosity than hope. The dealer squints, tilts the coin under his magnifier, and goes silent. Moments later, he mutters words that change everything. This might be one of them. That's the kind of moment that turns ordinary people into believers. Believers that history still hides in plain sight. Numismatics isn't just about metal. It's about mystery, memory, and meaning. Each coin is a fragment of a national story. The 1964 D Lincoln 1-cent represents not just scarcity, but survival. The Mint's frantic struggle to maintain order amid chaos. And as collectors well know, scarcity plus story equals value. Let's pause for a second. Why do people pay hundreds of thousands, even millions, for a coin that once bought a stick of gum? Because wealth in its purest form is not always measured in dollars. It's measured in connection, to time, to history, to legacy. When a collector holds a rare coin, they hold proof that they've outwitted time itself. They've preserved what others discarded, and that, more than gold or silver, is priceless. The modern coin market, of course, has its own rhythm, a blend of speculation, passion, and artistry. But lately, it's been pulsing with renewed energy. High-grade copper coins, especially those from the early and mid-1960s, are drawing intense competition. Prices for top-condition Lincoln 1-cent coins, certified by trusted grading services, have soared as investors seek tangible assets amid economic uncertainty. The once overlooked copper cent has become a symbol of enduring value in a world of digital currency and fading tangibility at one auction in particular sent shock waves through the collecting world. A near-perfect 1964 D. Lincoln 1 cent, graded at the highest levels and possessing an otherworldly sheen, sold for over $800,000. Experts debated the cause: a unique dye polishing, an experimental strike, a proof-like surface never meant to exist. But regardless of the technical explanation, one truth emerged. Even the smallest artifact of history can command unimaginable worth when rarity meets passion. And yet, here's the twist. Many collectors still have no idea what hides in their collections. In the sea of billions of 1964 D coins, only the trained eye can discern the subtle differences, the razor-sharp lettering, the deep mirrored fields, the microscopic dye markers that distinguish the extraordinary from the common. Every coin hunter's heart races at the thought, what if I have one? That's the essence of the numismatic journey, the quiet thrill of possibility. But here's a question worth pondering. Why does a story like this capture us so completely? Because it reminds us that the American dream isn't dead. It's just smaller now, stamped into copper, hiding under decades of dust. The idea that something forgotten, something discarded, could change one's life, that speaks to every generation, especially today, when the world feels uncertain, when inflation erodes paper and markets tremble. A simple coin from 1964 can whisper something powerful. I've endured. There's a beautiful irony here. In the year the U.S. Mint tried to make coins more common and flood the nation with abundance, it accidentally created something rare beyond imagination. That's the paradox of value. Abundance dulls, but mistakes illuminate. The Denver Mint, under immense pressure, may have struck these legendary pieces in haste, never realizing they were minting a future fortune. Today, that tiny D under Lincoln's shoulder stands as a silent symbol of chance, proof that perfection often comes from imperfection. For those who collect, sell, or invest in rare coins, the lesson is timeless. The greatest treasures often hide among the ordinary. A small shift in perspective, a keener eye, a deeper understanding, can transform a 1-cent curiosity into a 6-figure legacy. And perhaps that's why numismatics continues to attract not just historians and investors, but dreamers. Each coin carries potential, each discovery a whisper from the past offering another chance at the American ideal. Think about it. Every time your hand closes around a handful of change, you're holding generations of stories, silent witnesses to wars, recessions, elections, and revolutions. Coins survive fires, floods, and decades of neglect. They outlast governments. They carry the fingerprints of millions, yet somehow they remain distinctly personal. The 1964 D. Lincoln 1 cent, for all its mystery and value, is really a mirror, reflecting what we choose to see: scarcity or abundance, history or future, 1 cent or a lifetime's fortune. Some collectors chase coins for profit, others for pride. The wise collector, though, chases understanding. They know that each coin tells not just the story of America, but of human nature. Our obsession with beauty, rarity, and permanence in a world that changes faster than ever. That's what makes discoveries like the 1964 D so powerful. They're more than collectibles. They're reminders that history still rewards curiosity. So the next time you hold a 1964 Abraham Lincoln 1 cent coin, look closer, tilt it under the light. Study the mint mark. Feel the weight of copper, solid, cold, patient. Because somewhere, someone just like you might be holding a twin to the coin that shocked the world, and they might not even know it. Yet, the story of the 1964 D. Lincoln 1 cent isn't just about metal and money. It's about destiny, about how the smallest artifact can bridge decades, carrying with it both mystery and meaning. For those who collect, who invest, who seek legacy, this coin serves as a reminder. Greatness doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it hides quietly, waiting for the right hands to uncover it. So keep searching, keep studying, keep believing that history still has secrets left to tell, because it does. And one of them might be sitting right there, glinting softly in the palm of your hand. The year was 1965. The United States stood at the crossroads of change. The Vietnam War loomed in the background, rock and roll filled the airwaves, and the U.S. Mint faced a crisis that would alter coinage forever. Silver prices were skyrocketing. The Treasury could no longer afford to keep precious metals in circulating coins. For the first time in decades, the Mint stripped away mint marks from all denominations. Philadelphia, Denver, San Francisco, every coin identical, every origin hidden. To the casual spender, it was just another copper coin featuring Lincoln's solemn profile and the memorial reverse. But to those who understand the rhythm of history, this was a moment when secrecy met production, and from secrecy, mistakes are born. Hidden among billions of ordinary cents were a few that broke the pattern. Some struck with experimental compositions, others with minting anomalies that would only reveal themselves decades later. The 1965 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent coin became an enigma because every 1965 cent was supposed to have no mint mark. So how could one version be worth nearly $1 million? The answer, as collectors discovered, lies in what cannot be seen at first glance. Let's take a closer look. Most 1965 Lincoln cents were minted in Philadelphia using a copper alloy, 95% copper, 5% zinc. Yet around that time, the Mint was experimenting with leftover planchets from previous years. Transitional errors, coins struck on the wrong metal blanks, were emerging across denominations. A few cents from 1965 may have been struck on bronze or silver planchets intended for other coins. These were never meant to exist. They weren't documented, logged, or intentionally distributed. They simply slipped through. Imagine a single wrong blank feeding into a press, its color, its weight, just slightly off. Mint workers wouldn't have noticed in the roar of the machines. But to a trained numismatist decades later, those microscopic differences spell fortune. One such coin surfaced in a private collection. It looked ordinary, aged copper tone, faint luster, but under precision analysis, its composition, weight, and die alignment didn't match standard 1965 specifications. Collectors debated, dealers speculated. Was it a mule? A transitional error? A mint experiment that escaped? When verified, the coin's authenticity sent shockwaves through the numismatic community. The sale value crossed $815,000, a staggering figure for a 1-cent piece that once jingled in someone's pocket change. Why does this matter to collectors today? Because coins like these reveal how history hides in plain sight. The 1965 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent teaches a powerful lesson about perception. What we ignore daily, those small copper discs in our drawers, can carry the stories of national transition, technological experimentation, and human oversight. Every collector knows that the pursuit isn't just about wealth, it's about being the one who notices what others overlook. Here's where psychology enters the picture. Collectors often share a common trait, the desire to preserve control over time. Each coin they hold is a frozen moment, metal that has survived wars, inflation, and forgetfulness. It's legacy you can touch, and legacy is powerful. When someone discovers a coin like the 1965 Lincoln cent error, they aren't just finding value. They're uncovering proof that time rewards patience and observation. But there's another layer. In 1965, as mint marks vanished, collectors were furious. They felt betrayed. How could they trace origin or rarity without those small letters? The Mint's decision to remove mint marks from 1965 through 1967 was meant to discourage hoarding during the coin shortage. Ironically, it had the opposite effect. Collectors began hoarding everything, searching for varieties, misstrikes, and transitional pieces. The no-mint mark era became a breeding ground for mystery. Coins, each one a potential hidden gem. That decision by the Mint accidentally created one of the most exciting treasure hunts in modern American coinage. Consider this. A single 1965 Lincoln 1-cent coin, identical to billions yet slightly heavier, perhaps 3.11 grams instead of the standard 310. A difference invisible to the naked eye, but enough to spark decades of debate. Some experts speculate that a few 1965 cents were struck using leftover 1964 bronze planchets before the composition officially shifted. Others whisper that an unrecorded batch from San Francisco or Denver was mistakenly sent out without mint marks. These whispers keep collectors awake at night, checking rolls of coins under magnifying lenses, hoping lightning will strike twice. Because if one coin worth $815,000 could still exist in circulation, or in an old family jar, then maybe another waits to be found. The question becomes, how do you recognize it? Authenticity is everything. Look for clues: unusual coloration, inconsistent weight, die doubling on Lincoln's date, or the word liberty. Examine the edges, the rim thickness, even the faint sheen of the metal. The slightest deviation might hold the signature of rarity, but perhaps the more profound truth is this: most people will never look. They'll spend the coin. They'll overlook history in their change tray. That's why collectors are different. They see what others ignore. They feel the gravity of a century in a single gram of metal. And that brings us to the deeper meaning of coins like the 1965. No mint mark Lincoln 1 cent. It's not just about monetary value. It's about the story of a nation learning to adapt under pressure. 1965 marked the first time since the Great Depression that the mint had to reinvent its operations. They transitioned away from silver, increased production to unprecedented levels, and balanced secrecy with demand. The no mint mark policy symbolized a government trying to regain control over chaos. In that chaos, accidents became artifacts. For those who invest in rare coins today, these moments define opportunity. The coin market thrives not on hype but on discovery. When an anomaly is proven authentic and auctioned, it resets the benchmark for what collectors consider possible. The $815,000 sale wasn't just about 1 cent. It was about validation. It showed that patience and curiosity could still turn copper into gold, metaphorically and literally. And let's be honest, who among us hasn't dreamed of uncovering that one coin that changes everything? Here's a curious fact that surprises many. In 1965 alone, over 1 billion Lincoln cents were minted. That's a staggering figure. Yet within that ocean of copper, perhaps only a handful hold this mysterious origin. It's the same principle that makes a single diamond valuable among countless stones. The difference lies in its imperfections. Numismatics thrives on that paradox. Perfection rarely creates value. It's the flaws, the anomalies, the unexplained deviations that collectors cherish most. Every time the mint corrected a mistake, it accidentally made a masterpiece. Let's pause for a moment and think about the odds. You could walk into a small-town antique shop, browse through a forgotten coin jar, and unknowingly hold one of the rarest modern cents ever struck. It's happened before. The stories circulate quietly in collector circles. An elderly man trading his childhood coin jar for $50, only for one coin inside to later fetch hundreds of thousands. The moral? Rarity doesn't announce itself. It hides, waiting for the eyes that care enough to see. As we approach the heart of this mystery, let's address the deeper allure. Why does the idea of $1 million penny captivate us so much? It's because it upends expectation. It whispers that greatness can hide in the smallest things. It reminds us that even in the mass-produced modern world, individuality survives, sometimes stamped into copper, and it gives hope to the patient collector. The treasure hunter, the investor who believes that history still rewards the curious. Today, the 1965 no mint mark Lincoln 1 cent coin stands as a symbol of that hope. Its story inspires new generations of collectors to re-examine their holdings, to question what's ordinary. It reminds the seasoned investor that value isn't always born of gold or silver. It can rise from the humblest of materials when time, error, and fate collide. If you hold a 1965 Lincoln cent today, study it, weigh it, respect it. Within its edges may lie more than metal. It could hold the echoes of a nation's transition and the chance of unexpected fortune. Because sometimes the most powerful discoveries aren't buried in the earth. They're hiding in your change, and so the legend continues. Each coin in circulation, each roll unopened, each collection passed down, could be harboring another anomaly waiting to be found. The kind of discovery that doesn't just reward financially, but spiritually. Proof that patience and knowledge still triumph in a world obsessed with speed. So the next time you see that familiar Lincoln gaze staring back from your palm, ask yourself, what if this isn't just a cent? What if this is history? Whispering, look closer. Because in the world of numismatics, every coin tells a story, and some stories are worth millions. Back in 1967, the United States Mint was under enormous pressure. The early years of that decade had seen what collectors still call the coin shortage crisis. Silver prices were climbing. The Treasury was scrambling to meet production demands, and the public was hoarding coins faster than the mint could produce them. Collectors, anticipating scarcity, were keeping rolls of uncirculated coins, a behavior that fed the very shortage it feared. In response, the mint made a controversial decision. It removed mint marks altogether from all coins struck in 1965, 1966, and 1967. No P for Philadelphia, no D for Denver, no S for San Francisco. The goal? To calm the frenzy of collectors chasing after certain mint-marked rarities. And yet, irony has a sense of humor. By trying to eliminate the excitement of rarity, the mint accidentally created one of the most intriguing and valuable modern coins in circulation today. Among the millions of 1967 Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coins that rolled off the presses, most were ordinary. Common, worn down, worth their face value or perhaps a few cents to casual collectors. But a handful, a mysterious, almost mythical few, possess characteristics that have turned them into six-figure treasures. At first glance, the coin looks unremarkable, the stoic profile of President Lincoln facing right, framed by the word liberty and the date 1967, no mint mark, of course. But under magnification, experts began to notice differences, subtle shifts in the die alignment, traces of doubled lettering, and a level of sharpness not typical of high-volume production that year. Some of these coins, it seems, were struck with experimental dies or under conditions meant for internal mint testing. Others bear anomalies, double dies, clipped planchets, off-center strikes, that turned a humble cent into a museum-worthy specimen. One such piece reportedly fetched over $811,000 in a private auction, an almost surreal figure for a coin most people wouldn't glance at twice. But why? What drives such astronomical value for something so seemingly trivial? The answer lies in a perfect storm of rarity, story, and human desire. Coin collectors, especially seasoned numismatists, don't just chase metal. They chase meaning. They're curators of legacy, investors in fragments of America's evolving identity. A 1967 no-mint mark Lincoln cent isn't just copper. It's the embodiment of a turbulent era when the government tried to tame human fascination with scarcity and failed. For collectors, owning one of these rare cents is like holding a paradox, a coin born of uniformity, yet destined for distinction. Pause for a moment and think about it. How many times have you handled a penny without looking twice? Dropped one in a jar or ignored one lying face down on the sidewalk? What if one of those forgotten coins was a small fortune disguised in plain sight? That's not exaggeration. It's reality for a few lucky discoverers who had the patience to look closer. During the 1970s and 1980s, as coin grading became more sophisticated, collectors began revisiting the boring coins of the mid-60s. Many had dismissed the no-mint mark Lincolns as worthless, but advanced microscopes revealed unexpected treasures, crisp die cracks along Lincoln's coat, minute doubling on the motto "In God We Trust," and edges struck with remarkable precision. Each imperfection, each anomaly told a story. And as word spread, curiosity turned to frenzy. Auction houses started listing these cents with cautious optimism, until prices climbed into the thousands, then tens of thousands, and eventually the record-shattering sale that crossed the $800,000 threshold. What made that particular coin different? A perfect storm of condition, error, and timing. It was struck with an exceptionally crisp die, likely one intended for testing or calibration, on a flawless plancher that survived without scratches, discoloration, or wear. Combine that with a growing market hungry for mid-century rarities, and you have a collector's dream, a once ordinary coin elevated to the ranks of myth. But beyond the numbers, there's something deeper at play here, something psychological. Every serious collector knows the thrill of the hunt. The quiet tension of sorting through rolls, magnifier in hand, heart racing at the thought of uncovering the impossible. It's not just about profit. It's about legacy. Coins like the 1967 no-mint mark Lincoln cent awaken something primal, a reminder that history still hides in our pockets waiting to be found. Each discovery connects us to a timeline that stretches from the Civil War to the space age, from wheat stalks to the Lincoln Memorial, from copper to zinc, from value to meaning. And there's another twist, one that even experienced collectors sometimes overlook. The value of such coins doesn't just depend on rarity. It's also about timing. Numismatic markets move in cycles. Periods of explosive growth often follow times of economic uncertainty, when tangible assets become safe havens for wealth. Rare coins, especially those tied to American identity, often outperform traditional investments during volatile times. So when a particular cent, especially one like the 1967 no-mint mark, captures media attention or sells for an eye-popping figure, demand surges. The next wave of collectors rushes in, searching their drawers, their inherited jars, their childhood albums. Prices spike and another chapter of numismatic history is written. And yet, the mystery deepens. For decades, experts have debated whether certain 1967 no-mint mark Lincoln cents were part of controlled test runs at the Philadelphia Mint. Some suggest that high-relief versions are unusually sharp. Strikes were produced to experiment with die longevity and plancher quality. If true, that means some of these coins aren't merely circulation errors, they're artifacts of mint experimentation, never intended to leave government hands. That shadow of secrecy adds allure and drives collectors to chase them even harder. Here's where it gets fascinating. Of the billions of Lincoln cents struck that year, only a handful exhibit the combination of pristine preservation, doubling, and sharp relief necessary to command six-figure values. Imagine a field of identical copper discs, billions of them, and within that endless sea, a dozen or so that contain the genetic mutation of fortune. Statistically, your chances of finding one are slim, but not impossible. And that impossibility is what makes the hunt irresistible. You see, every collector begins with a single question. What if? What if the coin I find today changes my life? What if this unassuming cent connects me to a forgotten moment in history? What if I am the one who discovers what others overlooked? That whisper of possibility is what fuels the entire numismatic world. The 1967 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent coin is a symbol of that eternal what if. It's proof that not all treasures gleam. Some hide beneath decades of fingerprints, in dusty drawers or half-forgotten piggy banks, patiently waiting for someone with vision to recognize them. And if you're wondering how to tell whether you might have one of these elusive cents, here's where things get interesting. Examine the coin under strong light. Look closely at Lincoln's profile, his jawline, his bow tie, the curve of his ear. On some rare specimens, these details appear slightly doubled, a subtle ghosting effect caused by die misalignment. Check the date 1967 and the words, "In God We Trust." Doubling. Crisp edges and flawless surfaces are your first clues. Weight can matter. 2, most of these cents should weigh about 3.11 grams. Being 95% copper and 5% zinc and tin. Any significant deviation could suggest an unusual plancher or mint error, but condition is everything. Even the slightest blemish can cut value in half, while perfect luster can multiply it several times over. Still, the true beauty of this story isn't just in the financial reward. It's in the revelation that even in an age of digital assets and fleeting attention spans, something as small as a cent can still capture the imagination of a nation. It reminds us that history isn't just written in books or stored in museums. It's scattered across kitchen drawers, resting in the folds of an old wallet, buried in a forgotten coin jar. Each piece is a time capsule, whispering stories of presidents, wars, recessions, and dreams of prosperity. So the next time you spot an old Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin from 1967, pause before you toss it aside. Tilt it toward the light. Let the copper surface catch your eye. Consider the odds, the legacy, the untold story it might hold, because somewhere out there, another collector, maybe just like you, will one day discover a coin that changes everything. And perhaps that collector will remember this very moment, this very story, and think, could it be? The world of rare coins is not about luck alone. It's about patience, awareness, and reverence for the small miracles history leaves behind. In the realm of numismatics, the smallest objects often carry the heaviest weight, of mystery, of legacy, of wealth unimagined. The 1967 no-mint mark Lincoln cent stands as a reminder that true value is never about what something appears to be, but what it represents. A single cent, worth less than the paper it rests on, can embody the spirit of a nation, the passion of collectors, and the infinite curiosity that drives us to keep searching. And sometimes, when the stars align and the light hits just right, that humble coin in your hand isn't just a cent, it's a fortune, a story, a legacy waiting to be discovered. What makes an ordinary coin command a king's ransom? This is the story of how a humble piece of metal, struck during a turbulent year in American history, became a silent vault of unimaginable value. Let's travel back to 1970, a year that reshaped America's spirit. The Vietnam War raged on. Apollo 13 was fighting for survival in space, and the U.S. Mint in Denver was striking millions of Lincoln 1-cent coins. Just another day of routine production. But amidst the thunder of presses and the shimmer of fresh copper blanks, something extraordinary happened. A few coins left the Denver Mint carrying a secret. A mistake so subtle, it took decades for collectors to even recognize its significance. These were the 1970 D Lincoln 1-cent coins, bearing not just the Denver D mint mark, but also the ghost of a previous year, 1969, a double-die obverse, as numismatists call it. But that term hardly captures the beauty of this anomaly. Under magnification, the date and inscriptions appear as if shadowed by a second strike, a doubling effect born from a misaligned hub. In simple terms, the coin's design was impressed twice, slightly off from the original alignment. A fluke in machinery, yes, but in the world of rare coins, flukes are miracles. Why? Because imperfection is the language of rarity, and rarity, when paired with historical resonance, is the oxygen of value. The Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin has always carried a patriotic weight. First issued in 1909 to honor the centennial of Lincoln's birth, it was the first American coin to bear a real person's face. By 1970, it had become a symbol of endurance, a reminder of integrity in an age of doubt. So when a version of this coin appeared with a mysterious doubling, collectors saw more than an error. They saw destiny etched in copper. At first, only the sharpest eyes spotted it. A coin dealer in California reportedly noticed the strange doubling on the word Liberty and the date 1970. The spacing was off, the contours too thick. He held it under his loupe and whispered to himself, "This can't be real." But it was. And soon, word spread quietly among those who knew the pulse of the numismatic world. By the late 1980s, whispers had turned into a fever. Auction houses began receiving calls from collectors desperate to confirm whether their jars of old Lincoln 1-cents might contain the fabled Denver double die. And here's where the story takes an emotional twist, because nearly every coin collector has had that moment. The hope that maybe, just maybe, their humble find is the one the world overlooked. It's not just about money, it's about legacy. Every collector knows that rare coins are more than metal. They are miniature time machines carrying fingerprints of history. The 1970 D double die Lincoln 1-cent doesn't just represent a minting error. It represents a rare intersection of human error and mechanical precision, captured forever in copper. Now you might wonder, how did such a mistake survive the mint's quality control? In 1970, the Denver Mint used a mechanical hubbing process that required multiple impressions to transfer the master design onto a working die. If the alignment shifted between impressions even slightly, the doubling effect appeared. Normally, such dies were destroyed, but a few slipped through the cracks, producing coins that would one day command staggering prices. Today, those who own an authentic specimen possess not just a collectible, but a key to American minting lore. One verified example, graded by a top-tier service, fetched over $807,000 at auction, an almost poetic return for something that once jingled unnoticed in pockets and purses. But the mystery deepens when you realize how few exist. Numismatic records suggest fewer than a dozen confirmed examples have surfaced. And unlike modern mint errors, these weren't discovered immediately. They circulated quietly for years, tossed into change jars, vending machines, and coffee counters. It's entirely possible that a few still sleep in forgotten drawers, waiting to be recognized. That's where the real magic lies, the thought that you, right now, could be sitting just a few feet away from a coin worth a lifetime of savings. Collectors often say that the hunt is more thrilling than the find itself. The late-night searches, the magnifying glass reflections under lamplight, the heartbeat you feel when you flip a coin over and see something just slightly different. And for investors, the 1970 D Lincoln 1 cent isn't just a symbol of nostalgia. It's a study in market psychology. Rare coin markets move in waves, driven by scarcity, story, and sentiment. Coins with strong narratives, especially those tied to human error or historical periods of change, tend to appreciate steadily over time. When headlines broke about the 807K sale, it wasn't just collectors who paid attention. It was wealth strategists, hedge fund managers, even tech entrepreneurs who suddenly saw coinage as an alternative asset class. They realized something profound. Tangible history outlasts digital volatility. Stocks crash, cryptocurrencies vanish, but a coin endures. It carries a story that no algorithm can replicate, and in that story lies value. Because when you buy a rare coin like the 1970 D Double-Die Lincoln, you're not just acquiring metal, you're inheriting a narrative. You're buying a fragment of American craftsmanship, an accident turned art, a mistake turned masterpiece. Still, the pursuit comes with its trials. For every authentic treasure, there are counterfeits lurking, clever reproductions designed to fool even seasoned eyes. That's why professional grading and authentication have become essential. Organizations like the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, and the Numismatic Guarantee Company, NGC, provide certification that separates myth from reality. Because in a market where a tiny D mint mark can mean the difference between 1 cent and 1 million, precision matters. But let's pause for a moment. Imagine the original die maker at the Denver Mint in 1970. He likely never knew his slightly misaligned hubbing would become one of the most coveted numismatic treasures in America. Maybe he went home that evening, had dinner with his family, and forgot the day's work entirely. Yet his unseen hand left a legacy that now transcends generations. There's something poetic in that value often hides in the unnoticed, the unintentional. It reminds us why collectors chase the rare and the remarkable, because behind every coin is a story about human hands, human flaws, and the beauty born from both. So what can this mean for you, the viewer, the collector, the investor? It's not just about searching for a 1970 D double die. It's about cultivating the eye to see opportunity where others see commonality, the discipline to learn the stories behind each coin, because those stories are where the real worth begins. Many of today's seasoned numismatists began with simple curiosity, sorting through loose change, attending small coin shows, chatting with old dealers who spoke in hushed tones about legendary finds. Over time, that curiosity turned into expertise, and expertise into generational wealth. Not through luck, but through understanding, the same understanding you gain when you hear tales like this. So next time you encounter an Abraham Lincoln 1 cent coin from 1970 with a small D beneath the date, don't rush to spend it. Hold it under the light. Look closely at liberty, at In God We Trust, at the date itself. Do the letters look thicker, slightly shadowed, doubled? If they do, you might be holding one of the rarest modern treasures in circulation, and if not, then you've still held a piece of history, and that's worth more than a cent in spirit. Because every collector knows it's not the coin that finds you wealthy, it's the journey that makes you rich. The story of the 1970 Lincoln 1 cent is a mirror to the collector's soul, the eternal search for meaning, for rarity, for something enduring in a world that moves too fast. It reminds us that greatness doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers quietly from the palm of your hand. Perhaps that's why collectors are, in a sense, philosophers. They don't just gather objects, they preserve stories. They invest in the moments where precision faltered and beauty emerged. And somewhere out there, another 1970 double die might still be waiting, lying forgotten in an attic box, sleeping in a jar of old change, or resting in the cash drawer of a small-town diner, waiting for someone with knowledge, patience, and curiosity to wake it from history's long slumber. Will that person be you? Because as every seasoned numismatist knows, the greatest discoveries aren't made in distant mines or treasure ships. They're made right here, in the smallest corners of everyday life. And sometimes they come stamped with the face of Abraham Lincoln and a date that refuses to fade. So the next time you feel the weight of a copper coin in your palm, remember this: within that coin may lie not just a fortune, but a forgotten story of America, of human craftsmanship, imperfection, and enduring value. A story that, for one lucky soul, turned 1 cent into $800,000. At first glance, it's nothing special. A smooth copper face, Abraham Lincoln gazing rightward with quiet dignity, the date 1971 etched beside him. The reverse, the Lincoln Memorial, a familiar sight to anyone who's ever counted change at a gas station. But the truth behind this particular issue hides in the details. And as any seasoned numismatist knows, details are where the magic and the money truly live. In 1971, America was at a crossroads. The Vietnam War was drawing to a painful close. The U.S. abandoned the gold standard. The value of the dollar was in flux. The world of money, real money, was changing forever. In the midst of this, the Philadelphia Mint continued its quiet duty, striking billions of Lincoln 1 cent coins. Unlike those produced in Denver or San Francisco, the Philadelphia coins bore no mint mark, a subtle absence that collectors often overlook. But that year, something extraordinary happened inside those old minting halls. A few dies, those hardened steel pieces that stamp the design onto blank copper planchets, were engraved with microscopic inconsistencies. A fraction of a millimeter off, a touch too much pressure, an ever so slight misalignment in the lettering. These errors, invisible to the average eye, transformed a humble cent into an object of obsession. Now here's the twist most people never hear. Not every 1971 no mint mark cent is valuable. In fact, 99.99999% are worth only their face value, 1 cent. But a select few, those struck with exceptional sharpness, mirror-like fields and flawless surfaces, belong to a category collectors whisper about, proof-like business strikes. Imagine a circulation coin, made not for presentation, not for collectors, but for the hands of everyday Americans, emerging from the presses with the reflective brilliance of a proof coin. It's like discovering a diamond inside a bag of gravel. Graded under powerful lenses by the experts at PCGS and NGC, these rarities have fetched staggering prices at auction. The record? An astounding $804,000 for a single 1971 Abraham Lincoln 1 cent coin struck in Philadelphia with no mint mark. Let that sink in. A 1 cent coin, worth nearly $1 million. And this is where the story gets truly fascinating, because it's not just about a coin. It's about the people who recognized its significance, and the millions who never did. One retired machinist from Pennsylvania reportedly discovered his rare 1971 Lincoln cent while organizing a collection he'd built from pocket change over 40 years. He almost dismissed it, until he noticed something peculiar under a magnifying glass. The mirrored surface, the razor-sharp strike, the clarity of Lincoln's cheek and beard. He sent it to be graded just in case. Months later, he received a call that changed his life. His modest, time-worn penny had become a national headline, a numismatic miracle. But here's the deeper question. How many others like it are still out there? Experts believe a handful may still exist, locked in private collections or lost in the massive ocean of ordinary copper coins minted that year. Each one is a potential time capsule from an era of economic transformation, and therein lies the true allure of coin collecting, the intersection of history, art, and chance. When you hold a coin, you're not just touching metal. You're touching decisions made decades ago by engravers, die technicians, and the unpredictable rhythm of machinery. The 1971 Philadelphia cent was composed primarily of copper, 95% copper to be exact, with a touch of zinc and tin. Its composition would soon change. By the 1980s, copper became too costly, and the U.S. Mint transitioned to zinc cores with copper plating. That shift makes the earlier coins not just heavier in the hand, but richer in story. For collectors, this tactile difference, the weight, the sound when it lands on a table, sparks something primal. A reminder of a time when the smallest coin actually felt like money. Now let's pause here. If you were to check your coin jar tonight, what would you be looking for? Not just the date, 1971, but the absence of a mint mark beneath the year. Then, the condition. Is it crisp, bright, reflective? Do Lincoln's features appear sharper than usual? If you tilt it under the light, does it mirror like a freshly struck proof coin? These are the subtle signs. The language of treasure hidden in plain sight. Numismatics at its core is not just about profit. It's about perception, the ability to see rarity where others see routine. Collectors often speak of the hunt, the thrill of discovery that connects them to something larger than themselves. That emotional spark has fueled generations of Americans, from Depression era, savers who tucked wheat cents into coffee cans, to modern investors scanning estate sales for uncirculated rolls, and in recent years, the market for vintage U.S. coinage has shifted dramatically. As stocks waver and inflation gnaws at savings, tangible assets like rare coins have surged in demand. The very coins once dismissed as change are now symbols of preservation, of legacy. A well-preserved Lincoln cent from 1971, authenticated and graded, isn't just a collector's trophy. It's a piece of American resilience. Copper, history, and hope fused together in a single inch of metal. But why this particular coin? Why has it captivated so many? Because it embodies contrast. Ordinary versus extraordinary. Mass production versus microscopic rarity. A cent versus a fortune. Every collector understands this paradox. The notion that value isn't always visible. It must be found. That's what makes the story of the 1971 no mint mark Lincoln 1-cent coin so powerful. It reminds us that life's most valuable opportunities rarely announce themselves. They hide behind the mundane, waiting for the eyes sharp enough and the heart patient enough to recognize them. And yet, there's a shadow side to this story. With great value comes great imitation. Counterfeits have begun circulating, meticulously crafted fakes designed to mimic the mirrored surfaces of the genuine proof-like specimens. They trick inexperienced buyers, prey on emotion, and exploit the hunger for instant fortune. So how does one protect themselves? Knowledge. True collectors invest first in understanding, in learning the language of luster, strike, and die variation. They consult certified grading services. They verify provenance. They treat each coin not just as currency, but as a story that demands authentication. Because in this world, the line between $1 million treasure and a worthless imitation can be thinner than a human hair. There's another twist in the tale, one most people never hear. In 1971, as the mint was producing billions of cents, a few experimental strikes were made to test new die polishing methods. Some of these early strikes, possibly from the same batch that birthed the now famous high-value specimen, displayed surfaces of unmatched brilliance. They were never meant to circulate. Yet somehow a few did. It's believed that a mint employee, unaware of their significance, released them into general circulation. Those coins became whispers in the numismatic community, the ghost strikes of Philadelphia. Whether myth or fact, these stories breathe life into the pursuit. They remind us that even the most meticulously controlled process can give birth to miracles of chance. And that's the essence of collecting, isn't it? Every coin tells a story of minting mishaps, shifting economies, human error, and human passion. Behind every great find lies a journey, a dusty attic, a childhood coin album, a forgotten roll in a safe deposit box. For some, the 1971 Lincoln cent is just copper and nostalgia. For others, it's proof that fortune hides in simplicity, that patience, curiosity, and a discerning eye can transform a penny into a legacy. So, what lesson does this story leave us with? Perhaps it's this: wealth is not always something we chase. Sometimes it's something we recognize. The rare 1971 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent coin doesn't just reward collectors, it rewards visionaries. Those who understand that value often begins where others stop looking. The next time you sift through your spare change, pause for a moment. Run your fingers over the worn copper faces, because among them might lie a relic of American history, a treasure waiting for its rightful discoverer. And if you do find that glimmering 1971 cent, untouched by mint marks, with the mirror sheen of a proof, remember, what you hold isn't just a coin. It's a whisper from the past, a symbol of endurance, a testament to how even the smallest things can hold the greatest worth. In a world racing toward digital everything, where money exists as pixels and passwords, the humble Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin still carries something no cryptocurrency ever will: soul. A century-old conversation between craftsmanship and nationhood. So keep searching, keep collecting, keep believing that in your hands, the ordinary can still become extraordinary. Because somewhere, perhaps right now, another collector is finding their own 1971 treasure and rewriting their legacy 1 cent at a time.
Imagine holding a single penny in your hand. Something so small, so ordinary, that you've probably dropped dozens of them in couch cushions or left them at the bottom of a change jar without a second thought. Now imagine that very same penny, a tiny, copper-colored Lincoln cent minted in 1960 with a small D mark beneath the date, could be worth more than a luxury home. More than a fleet of cars, in fact, potentially worth nearly $1 million. Sounds unbelievable, doesn't it? And yet, this is not fiction. It's one of the most thrilling truths in American coin collecting history, and it has transformed forgotten pocket change into life-changing fortunes. But before you reach for that jar of pennies in your kitchen, let's set the stage. In 1960, the United States Mint in Denver produced hundreds of millions of Lincoln cents. To the naked eye, they looked the same as every other penny. But among these countless coins, a few anomalies slipped through the cracks. Rare variations, tiny imperfections, minute differences in design that turned ordinary copper cents into legendary treasures. Some of these so-called arrow coins and varieties have since fetched staggering sums on the open market, with one specimen reportedly selling for as high as $968,000. Think about that for a second. A coin with a face value of 1 cent worth a fraction of a gumball in 1960, now commanding nearly $1 million. That's not just an investment. That's a story you tell for generations. It's the American dream distilled into copper and preserved for 6 decades. Now here's the real question. How do you know if you're holding one of these rare 1960D Lincoln cents? And why did a humble penny, minted in a year of Elvis Presley hits and John F. Kennedy's campaign trail, become a sought-after prize in the world of numismatics? To answer that, we need to dive into the drama of the 1960 cent itself. That year, the Mint experimented with what collectors call small date and large date varieties. The numbers in the date the size of the 9, the 6, and especially the 0 appeared in slightly different styles depending on which dies were used. At first glance, the differences are almost laughably subtle. But to a trained eye, or even to someone holding a magnifying glass with a bit of patience, the contrast is striking. The small date 1960 cents, particularly those with the D mint mark for Denver, turned out to be much scarcer than their large date cousins. Scarcity, of course, is the lifeblood of value in collecting dot. And here's where things get even juicier. Some coins were struck with doubled dies, meaning that when the minting press imprinted the design, left a shadowy double image on the numbers or letters. In other words, accidents in the minting process that should have been discarded instead slipped into circulation. To coin collectors, those accidents are pure gold. Imagine finding a penny where the date looks like it's stamped twice. To the untrained eye, it's a smudge. But to a collector, it's a signal. This penny could be worth thousands, tens of thousands, or even hundreds of thousands. Now, I can almost hear the skeptical voice in your head. Come on, how many people really find coins like that? The truth may surprise you. Stories abound of individuals who discovered rare 1960D small date cents in old change jars, tucked away in a relative's collection, or even in circulation decades later. A single overlooked penny, plucked out of obscurity, has the potential to change someone's financial life overnight. And with more than 2 billion Lincoln cents minted in 1960, the odds of a rare survivor still being out there aren't as impossible as you might think. Here's a chilling thought. For every one person who finds a valuable coin, countless others unknowingly spend them, toss them into vending machines, or ignore them at yard sales. Imagine the fortune that has slipped through America's fingers, all because people didn't take a closer look. That's the fear factor, the haunting possibility that you might already have owned one of these legendary pennies and let it go, without ever realizing it. Let's step back for a moment and think about what drives this mania. Humans are storytellers by nature. We treasure relics not just for their metal content, but for the stories they carry. The 1960D Lincoln cent isn't just copper. It's history. It's the tension of the Cold War, the optimism of a new decade, the hum of jukeboxes in American diners. When you hold one, you're holding a fragment of that time. And when you find one of the rare varieties, you're also holding a ticket into the elite world of high-stakes coin collecting. Collectors aren't just hobbyists. They're investors, historians, dreamers, and sometimes treasure hunters. The market is alive with competition, where auctions can feel like high-drama theater. Picture a crowded room, the air buzzing with anticipation. as two bidders battle over a flawless 1960D small date sent in pristine condition, numbers climb higher and higher. The gavel falls. Nearly $1 million is exchanged for a single penny. That's not an exaggeration. That's a matter of record. But here's where it gets truly exciting for you. The treasure hunt isn't limited to dusty museums or elite collectors. Anyone, absolutely anyone, could stumble across one of these pennies today. It could be in your piggy bank, your grandfather's coin jar, or even resting at the bottom of your glove compartment. The key is knowing what to look for. Let's get practical for a moment. If you're holding a 1960D penny, the first step is to check the date. Does it look small or large? The small date version has a more delicate zero in 1960, sitting slightly higher in relation to the 1. If you notice that, your heart should already be racing. Next, inspect the mint mark, that tiny D under the date, marking it as a Denver minted coin. Then, under magnification, look carefully for doubling in the numbers or letters. Especially in the date and the word Liberty, those double dies are like red flashing lights for collectors. Here's another twist. Condition matters. A heavily worn 1960D small date cent might fetch a few $100s, maybe a few thousand in some cases. But the coins that climb into 6-figure or even 7-figure territory are the ones preserved in immaculate condition. Coins graded mint state by professional services can achieve astronomical prices. And here's where urgency comes in. Every day that passes, coins degrade. Every scratch, every touch, every moment of exposure to the elements shaves away potential value. Protecting what you have could be the difference between pocket change and a retirement plan. At this point, you might be thinking, so what's the chance I'll actually find one? That's the thrill of the hunt. It's not guaranteed. But it's possible, and the stories of everyday Americans stumbling upon treasures in unexpected places prove it. And even if you don't find the $1 million penny, other rare coins lurk in circulation, waiting to be discovered. Every search sharpens your eye. Every coin brings you closer to that life-changing discovery. Now let me ask you, how many other investments in life carry such a low barrier to entry? You don't need to buy real estate. You don't need a stockbroker. You don't need insider knowledge. All you need is a little curiosity, a little patience, and a handful of pennies. That's the beauty of it. The opportunity is sitting right in front of you. Disguised as ordinary change, imagine telling your friends and family that you sold a penny. Yes, a penny for more than most people make in a decade. Imagine the look on their faces when you reveal that the coin they ignored in their own pockets could have bought them a house. That kind of story isn't just profitable. It's unforgettable. It's legacy building. But here's the cliffhanger you didn't expect. The window of opportunity is closing. As collectors and investors snap up the remaining high-quality examples, fewer and fewer chances exist to find one in the wild. Prices rise, demand intensifies, and the treasures hiding in plain sight grow scarcer by the day. The real danger isn't that you won't find one. It's that you'll wait too long to start looking. So tonight, Ket, when you get home, Don't ignore that jar of change on the counter. Don't overlook the dusty box of coins in your attic. Pick them up, examine them, and ask yourself, could this be the one? Could this tiny piece of copper, overlooked by millions, be my ticket to financial freedom? The 1960D Lincoln cent is more than just a coin. It's a reminder that hidden wealth exists all around us, disguised as ordinary, waiting for someone with sharp eyes and the courage to look closer. Some people see only a penny. Others see a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The choice, as always, is yours, so what will it be? Will you let fortune slip through your fingers, or will you start the hunt today? Because the $1,000,000 penny is out there, and it may already be closer than you think. In 1968, a single penny left the U.S. Mint unnoticed by nearly everyone, carrying a secret so powerful that today it has collectors and treasure hunters willing to pay staggering sums. Imagine holding in your hand what appears to be an ordinary copper coin, the same kind that jingles the bottom of your drawer, only to discover it's a hidden millionaire. Yes, we're talking about the 1968 TZ's Lincoln cent, a small piece of metal that in rare cases has been valued at nearly $1 million. One sold for a jaw-dropping $961,000. How is that even possible? And more importantly, could one of these elusive pennies be hiding in your possession right now? At first glance, the 1968's penny seems mundane. The obverse carries the familiar bust of Abraham Lincoln, sculpted by Victor David Brenner, while the reverse shows the stately Lincoln Memorial. The S beneath the date marks it as having been struck at the San Francisco Mint. More than 250 million of them rolled off the presses that year. By the laws of probability, you'd assume this coin is about as common as raindrops in a storm. So why are some collectors prepared to pay more than the price of a mansion for one? The answer lies in a world of minting errors, proof strikes, and a level of rarity that defies logic. Here's the twist. Not every 1968 US penny is valuable. In fact, most are still worth only face value. But a microscopic handful contain errors or conditions so extraordinary that they catapult the coin from ordinary change to a life-altering windfall. The most infamous is the 1968's proof penny with a missing mint mark. You see, proof coins were produced with careful precision for collectors, not circulation. Yet, in a stunning blunder, a few slipped through without their mint mark, a mistake considered virtually impossible by mint standards. When the first of these surfaced, it sent shockwaves through the numismatic community. A tiny detail, no more than the absence of a single S, suddenly transformed copper into gold. Let's pause for a moment and think about this. What's the value of a small dot of engraving on a coin? To most of us, nothing. But to collectors, it's the difference between a penny and a fortune. The absence of that mint mark has elevated certain 1968 S pennies into legendary status, with reported sales climbing into hundreds of thousands of dollars. The finest examples, preserved with flawless surfaces, have commanded prices that rival luxury yachts. And that's not all. Even among the normal 1968 S coins, Those graded in pristine condition with lustrous, untouched surfaces can fetch hundreds or even thousands. Why? Because while millions were minted, few survived without scratches, wear, or damage. Every time someone used one to pay for a cup of coffee, another potential fortune vanished. Today, finding an immaculate example feels almost like discovering a fossilized dinosaur egg in your backyard. Now, here's where the story gets even more intriguing. In 2019, a 1968 test penny in spectacular condition was reported to have sold for nearly $1 million. That sale rattled both the numismatic world and ordinary Americans alike. Suddenly, people who hadn't thought about coins in decades were digging through their piggy banks. Stories spread of widows uncovering forgotten rolls of pennies in safety deposit boxes, of hobbyists realizing they'd been sitting on treasures all along. If you think this sounds like hype, consider the simple fact: the market decides the value. And when collectors with deep pockets battle each other at auction, the price can soar beyond imagination. But let's cut through the noise. How do you know if you have one of these rare 1968 pennies? First, check for that critical detail, the mint mark under the date. If it's missing, congratulations! You may be holding one of the rarest pennies in existence. If it's there, don't dismiss it yet. Condition matters just as much as rarity. Coins graded by professional services like PCGs or NGC as Proof 69 or MS67 can be worth thousands, even tens of thousands. The tiniest blemish, a scratch, a fingerprint, a dull surface can slash the value in half. On the other hand, a flawless specimen can multiply its worth tenfold. Think about the emotional impact of this. Somewhere in America, a forgotten coin jar might contain enough wealth to pay off a mortgage, fund a retirement, or send a grandchild to college. And yet, most people will never bother to look. Isn't it chilling to realize that the difference between ordinary pocket change and generational wealth could be sitting unrecognized in your kitchen drawer? The history of the 1968 test penny only deepens the mystery. That year marked a turning point in U.S. coinage. The mint had recently switched back to including mint marks after a brief period without them in the mid-1960s. It's an effort to discourage hoarding. San Francisco was tasked with producing proof coins in small, carefully controlled runs. By all accounts, the procedures should have eliminated any chance of error. And yet, a few escaped. Some experts argue these anomalies were deliberate test pieces, while others insist they were genuine oversights. Either way, they became holy grails for collectors, whispered about, hunted for, fought over at auctions. And let's not forget the psychological allure. Coins are more than metal. They're tangible fragments of history. The 1968 test penny carries with it the echoes of an era of political turmoil, a cultural revolution, and technological change. Owning one is like holding a piece of the American story. Add rarity and the thrill of the hunt, and suddenly this humble cent transforms into a symbol of both heritage and possibility. Now, let me ask you, what would you do if you discovered one today? Would you rush to auction, cashing in on the frenzy? Or would you tuck it away, letting it appreciate even further as scarcity drives up the market year after year. Remember, the supply is finite. Every time one changes hands, it becomes even clearer that these coins are slipping beyond the reach of the average collector. Some might laugh at the idea that a penny could be worth nearly $1 million. But isn't that the beauty of it? That something so small, so overlooked, could carry life-changing potential. It's the ultimate reminder never to underestimate what's right in front of us. And maybe that's why these stories grip us so tightly, because they speak to the possibility that fortune could arrive from the most unlikely place. So here's the urgent takeaway. Check your change. Check your coin jars. Check those old rolls of pennies that have been sitting in the attic since your grandfather's time. The 1968's penny doesn't shout its value, it whispers. And only those who listen carefully will hear its call. Imagine the moment of discovery. You tilt the coin under the light, and your pulse quickens. Could it be? Is this the missing mint mark? The flawless surface? The proof strike that experts have hunted for decades? Your palms sweat as you realize that with a single coin. Your financial future could change forever. Of course, not everyone will find one. That's the sobering truth. But isn't the possibility enough to at least look? Because unlike lottery tickets, which cost money and odds stacked against you, this treasure hunt begins with what you already own. The risk is zero, but the reward, potentially in the millions, is almost too good to ignore. And here's the final, climactic truth. Time is not on your side. As more people learn about the 1968 penny, the race intensifies. Every coin discovered is one less in circulation. Every auction that breaks a record pushes the bar higher for the next sale. The window of opportunity is closing, and those who wait may find themselves staring at a market that has already moved beyond reach. So tonight, when you finish watching this, don't just nod and forget. Go grab that dusty jar of pennies, pull out the magnifying glass, examine every date, every mint mark, every gleam of copper. Because somewhere out there, maybe in your home right now, a single penny could be worth a fortune. And all it takes is the courage to look. After all, in a world where fortunes are fleeting, who wouldn't want to say they turned a penny into $1 million? The 1968 Lincoln cent is more than just a coin. It's a reminder that history, luck, and opportunity sometimes meet in the palm of your hand. The question is, will you be the one who finds it? Here's the twist. It's not some shiny gold coin locked away in a museum. It's a Lincoln 1-cent coin from 1971. And if yours happens to be missing just one tiny detail, a mint mark, it could transform from pocket change into a life-altering treasure. Now, before you roll your eyes and say, "Come on, it's just a penny," consider this. There have been market sales of the 1971 no mint mark. Lincoln cent reported to reach staggering heights, even touching figures as jaw-dropping as $957,000 for the highest quality specimens. Think about that for a moment. Less than $1. Suddenly, almost $1 million. Doesn't that make you want to start digging through your change jar right now? But let's rewind the story. The year was 1971. Richard Nixon was president. Gas was just 36 cents a gallon, and millions of 1-cent coins were rolling off the presses at the United States Mint. Most of them were stamped with a tiny letter, a mint mark, to indicate where they were struck. Denver coins had a D, San Francisco coins carried an S, but something unusual happened with the Philadelphia Mint. Many of the coins produced there didn't get a mint mark at all. At first glance, that might seem like a simple oversight. But in the world of numismatics, details like that can change everything. Collectors have long obsessed over coins that break. The rules coins that shouldn't exist. Errors that slipped past inspectors, or anomalies that only eagle-eyed hobbyists ever notice. The 1971 no mint mark penny falls squarely into that category. The truth is, while most people have handled these pennies without a second thought, collectors know that condition and rarity are everything. A scratched-up coin that's been rattling around in your pocket for decades might fetch only a few dollars. But an uncirculated specimen, crisp and nearly flawless under magnification, can command prices that spiral into the hundreds of thousands and, in rare cases, reports suggest even millions. Now let's pause for a second. Why does this happen? Why would anyone pay such insane amounts for a coin that, at its face value, isn't even worth a stick of gum? The answer is equal parts psychology, history, and raw supply and demand. Think of it like fine art. A painting is just pigment on canvas. But if it's a rare masterpiece, collectors will fight over it at auction, driving the price into the stratosphere. The same thing happens with coins. Once the word spreads that a certain variety is scarce, once collectors realize there are only a handful of near-perfect survivors left, the value explodes. And here's where it gets even more fascinating. Not all 1971 pennies are created equal. Some are standard circulation coins that you'd find in your change even today. But others fall into extremely scarce categories-proof coins. Mistrock errors, and those elusive high-grade examples without a mint mark. Grading plays a massive role here. Professional coin grading services analyze every scratch, every detail, and assign a score. Coins that achieve near-perfect mint state, grades think MS67 or higher are the ones that light up collectors' eyes and wallets. These are the coins that have set auction records. Coins that turn an everyday penny into a once-in-a-lifetime windfall. But here's the kicker. How many of these high-grade 1971 no mint mark pennies are still out there, sitting unnoticed in desk drawers, old piggy banks, or inherited coin jars? Could one be hiding in your own home right now? Picture this. A man walks into a coin shop with a coffee can full of pennies inherited from his grandfather. The dealer starts sifting through them, expecting nothing unusual. Suddenly, he pauses, squints, and pulls one coin aside. It's a 1971, no mint mark, pristine condition. After professional grading and auction, that single coin sells for hundreds of thousands of dollars. The man who thought he had spare change suddenly has a college fund, a new home, or a secure retirement. Stories like that fueled the excitement, but they also feed the fear of missing out. How many of us have let coins slip through our fingers without checking? How many treasures have been spent on candy bars and parking meters, never to be seen again? Here's where the urgency comes in. Unlike many other collectibles, coins don't last forever in pristine condition. Every time they change hands, every scratch, every bump against another coin chips away at their potential value. That means the pool of top-grade survivors shrinks with every passing year. The longer you wait to search, the slimmer your odds of striking gold, so to speak. And this isn't just a fantasy. The coin market is alive and thriving. Auctions are public record. The numbers are there for anyone to see. In recent years, the frenzy over Lincoln cents, especially from the 1970s, has only grown. Collectors are realizing that the so-called modern pennies aren't as common as once believed, especially in untouched condition. And that demand has set the stage for incredible price surges. But let's not sugarcoat this. Not every 1971 penny is going to make you rich. Many are worth only a cent, maybe a few dollars if they're cleaner than average. That's the sobering reality. But it only takes one extraordinary find to change everything. And the thrill of the hunt, the possibility that the next coin you examine could be a jackpot, is what drives people to start looking. So, how do you know if your 1971 penny is special? First, look for the mint mark, or rather, the lack of it. A missing D or S could mean you have a Philadelphia issue. Then, study its condition. Is the surface smooth, sharp, and lustrous? Or is it worn and scratched? If it looks exceptional, you might want to have it professionally graded. That's where the real difference is made. A raw coin might be overlooked, but with an official grade in the high mint state range, collectors line up to bid. And if you think grading is just a formality, think again. The difference between MS-65 and MS-67 can mean tens of thousands of dollars or more. That's why the grading room is often where fortunes are decided. Now, let me ask you something. What would you do if you found a penny worth nearly $1 million? Pay off your mortgage. Retire early. Start that business you've been dreaming about. The mere possibility is electrifying, and it's closer to reality than most people realize. The truth is, history has a way of hiding wealth in plain sight. Our parents and grandparents carried these coins without a second thought. Today, we have the knowledge and the opportunity to uncover their hidden value. But opportunities don't last forever. As more coins are discovered, certified, and locked away in private collections, the chance to stumble upon one shrinks. So the clock is ticking. Somewhere in America, someone is about to make the discovery of a lifetime. Pulling a 1971 no mint mark penny from a dusty old jar and cashing it in for a fortune. The only question is, will it be you, or will you let the chance slip by? If you're feeling a little uneasy right now, good. That's the fear of missing out doing its job. Because the only thing worse than never finding a rare coin is realizing you had one all along. and you spent it on a cup of coffee 30 years ago. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, don't just throw that change aside. Take a second look. Dig through your coin jars. Check those forgotten rolls in the back of your closet. And call up your relatives to see if they've kept old pennies stashed away. Because buried in that pile of ordinary copper could be the extraordinary prize everyone else overlooked. Remember, history doesn't just live in textbooks. Sometimes it jingles quietly in your pocket. And when that history happens to be a 1971 Lincoln cent without a mint mark, in dazzling condition, it could be the key to a future you never imagined. So, are you ready to start looking? Or will you let someone else find the penny that could have been yours? Because as long as these coins are still out there, the hunt isn't over. And the next great discovery, the next $1 million penny, might be waiting for you to find it. And who knows, maybe tonight you'll hear that clink of copper and realize your life just changed with a single cent. Let that sink in for a moment. You may have tossed away what could have been the down payment on a mansion. The world of rare coins is full of legends. But this story, the tale of the 1991 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny, is a real-life treasure hunt hiding in plain sight. People often imagine treasure buried deep underground or locked in an old pirate's chest. But in reality, some of the greatest fortunes are sitting quietly in coin jars, dresser drawers, or even rattling around inside a dusty coffee can in your garage. And this coin, this unassuming copper-colored sliver of history, could be your ticket to life-changing wealth. But how does an ordinary penny become worth a fortune? The answer lies in a mistake. Back in 1991, the United States Mint produced billions of Lincoln cents. Most were struck at either the Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco mints. Normally, coins carry a mint mark, a small D for Denver, an S for San Francisco, or nothing at all for Philadelphia. But in a rare twist of fate, a small batch of 1991 Lincoln cents was minted without a mint mark at all, and not in Philadelphia, where the absence of a mark was expected, but under unusual circumstances that set them apart from the billions of ordinary cents. These errors, combined with their rarity, instantly transformed them into the holy grail for coin collectors. Now you might be wondering, what does this mean for you? Could you actually own one? Could the penny jingling in your pocket right now be a six-figure or even seven-figure lottery ticket in disguise? Let's break it down. The 1991 no mint mark Lincoln penny isn't just another oddity. It's one of those anomalies that collectors dream about. The reason it's so valuable is simple: supply and demand. Billions of coins exist, but only a tiny handful of these error pennies ever slipped into circulation. Scarcity breeds value, and when you combine that with America's undying love for Lincoln cents, the most collected coin in the nation, you create the perfect storm for astronomical prices. In fact, in high grades, certified by respected grading companies like PCGs or NGC, these coins have been reported to reach nearly $1 million at auction. Think about that for a second. A penny worth $1 million. That's the kind of math that makes your head spin. But here's where things get even more interesting. While most of us imagine million-dollar coins locked away in glass cases at elite auction houses, the truth is, many of them were found in ordinary places. A pocketful of change, a forgotten jar in the kitchen, even tucked into a child's piggy bank. Stories circulate of average Americans stumbling across these hidden treasures completely by accident. Some people cashed them in, others held on to them, and a few, the lucky ones, had their coins authenticated and sold for staggering sums. It's almost like the mint played a nationwide game of hide and seek. And only a few sharp-eyed people have won the jackpot now. Let's step back and look at the bigger picture. Why does this story matter so much today? Because millions of people in America are sitting on coins they haven't bothered to check. And many have no idea that those coins could change their financial future. Think about how many pennies have passed through your hands in your lifetime. Thousands. Tens of thousands. And how many of them have you actually examined closely? Exactly? Almost none. That's why these rare finds slip through the cracks. That's why opportunity hides in plain sight. And that's why the story of the 1991 no-mint mark penny isn't just about money, it's about awareness. About the possibility that life-changing fortune might be closer than you think. Here's the truth. The clock is ticking. Every year, more and more of these rare coins vanish into private collections. Once they're in the hands of elite collectors, they rarely see the light of day again. That means the window for ordinary people like you and me to find one is closing. And that's where the urgency comes in. If you've got a jar of coins somewhere in your home, now is the time to check it. Not tomorrow, not next week, now. Because who knows? Maybe the coin that could pay off your mortgage, cover your retirement, or fund your grandchildren's college tuition is already sitting quietly in your possession, waiting to be discovered. Of course, not every 1991 penny is valuable. Most of them are just 1 cent. And this is where people often get discouraged. They look at a handful of pennies, see nothing unusual, and give up. But remember, treasure isn't meant to be easy to find. If it were, it wouldn't be treasure at all. So how can you tell if you've got the real deal? Look for the absence of a mint mark. Normally, coins from Denver will have a small D under the date. Coins from San Francisco will have an S, and coins from Philadelphia in that era often had no mark at all, but the rare 1991 error coins stand out due to die varieties and specific features that experts can recognize. That's why authentication is so critical. If you think you might have one, the smartest move is to have it graded by a trusted third-party service. That's what separates speculation from real market value. Now, let's add another layer of suspense. Imagine that at this very moment, there are still dozens, maybe even hundreds, of these coins sitting unrecognized in circulation. Imagine they're being used to pay for gas, slipped into vending machines, or lying at the bottom of a purse right now. That thought alone should make your heart race, because every single time change passes through your hands, you could be seconds away from holding a fortune. And yes, let's be real, Not everyone will find one, but someone will. And history proves that it's not always the richest, the most experienced, or the most connected collectors who strike gold. Sometimes it's the everyday person who simply paid attention. The big question is, will that person be you? There's an old saying in the world of coin collecting: the best finds happen when you least expect them. And that's the beauty of the 1991 No Mint Mark penny. You don't need a metal detector. You don't need to dig through abandoned treasure sites. You don't need to travel halfway across the world. All you need is a sharp eye, a little patience, and the willingness to look closer at what's right in front of you. Because here's the shocking truth: wealth doesn't always come wrapped in dollar signs. Sometimes it comes disguised as the humblest coin in the nation's history. Now, let's imagine the possibilities. Suppose you find one tomorrow. You authenticate it. You put it up for auction. The bids roll in. At first, maybe a few thousand, then tens of thousands. Suddenly, 6 figures. And then the hammer drops. $944,000. Almost $1 million for a penny. How does that feel? Goosebumps. That's the kind of thrill that makes coin collecting one of the most exciting hidden markets in America. And here's the kicker. Even if you don't find this exact penny, the hunt itself opens your eyes to countless other rare coins in circulation. From double die errors to off-center strikes, from wheat cents to silver dimes. The world of U.S. coinage is filled with hidden jackpots. The 1991 No Mint Mark penny is just the headline. Behind it is an entire universe of overlooked value, so the choice is yours. Will you dismiss this as just another story? Or will you take action right now and start looking through your change with new eyes? Because the next great discovery could be closer than you think. It could be in your kitchen drawer. It could be in your car's ashtray. It could be in your wallet this very second. What's scarier? The thought that you'll never find one, or the possibility that you already had one and let it slip through your fingers? That's why the time to act is today. Don't let your $1 million penny end up in a Coinstar machine or traded for bubblegum at the corner store. Your fortune may be hiding in the most unlikely place, and the only thing standing between you and it is awareness. So take one last look at the change you've ignored for years. Because within those coins could lie not just copper and zinc, but the key to a future you never imagined possible. After all, when it comes to treasure, sometimes the smallest things carry the biggest secrets. And the 1991 No Mint Mark Lincoln cent, that just might be the smallest $1 million miracle in American history. Now here's the question. Could one of those coins be sitting in your pocket right now? The story of the 2006 D Mint Mark Lincoln 1 cent is a strange, almost cinematic tale of modern minting, hidden rarity, and the obsession of collectors. To understand why a coin minted less than 2 decades ago could fetch life-changing money, we need to look beyond its plain copper-plated shell and dive into the world of errors, varieties, and the feverish demand for perfection. Because in this world, one tiny flaw or one microscopic detail can make the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny that pays off your mortgage. Let's rewind for a moment. The 2006 Lincoln cent was struck in Denver, as signified by the D Mint mark. By this point, the design itself was no stranger to Americans. Abraham Lincoln had graced the obverse of the 1 cent coin since 1909, making it the longest-running coin design in United States history. Millions upon millions of these pennies were churned out in 2006. So on the surface, you might assume there's nothing special here. Just another mass-produced coin, easily dismissed. But that's exactly where the trap lies. Because sometimes rarity doesn't come from how many were made, but how few survived in flawless condition, or how many slipped through the cracks with minting errors so unusual that collectors will pay any price to secure them. And the 2006 D Lincoln cent, it has both. There are two key pathways that have turned these coins into legends. The first is condition rarity. Imagine a coin so pristine, so untouched, that even under magnification, experts can't find a single scratch, blemish, or imperfection. These perfect examples receive the highest possible grades from professional grading services. And in the marketplace, perfection drives mania. For the 2006 D cent, certain flawless, high-grade specimens have commanded astronomical sums, with record sales reaching that jaw-dropping $917,000 mark. Think about it. The difference between a penny that circulates in your change and a penny sealed away in untouched mint-state glory can be the difference between nothing and a fortune. The second pathway is minting errors. The Denver Mint is no stranger to mistakes, double dies, off-center strikes, clipped planchettes, you name it. And error coins are the wild cards of the collecting world. Some 2006 D cents have surfaced with dramatic errors, doubled lettering, striking anomalies, or strange misalignments. When such coins appear at auction, bidding wars erupt, driving prices into the tens of thousands. Collectors aren't just buying a piece of metal. They're buying a story, a once-in-a-lifetime anomaly that shouldn't exist. So, what does this mean for you? It means that every time you hold a 2006 penny, there's a small but real chance you could be holding something extraordinary. But here's the twist. Most people will never bother to look. They'll spend it. Drop it in a vending machine. Lose it in the couch cushions. And in doing so, they might be letting a $1 million opportunity slip right through their fingers. Now, let's pause for a second. Does this all sound too good to be true? A penny worth nearly $1 million. It's easy to be skeptical. But remember, rare collectibles have always defied logic. A postage stamp, smaller than your fingertip, once sold for $9.5 million. A baseball card once traded hands for over $12 million. And coins, they hold an even deeper power. They are history, art, and money itself fused into a single object. When the stars align, rarity, demand, and condition, the sky is the limit. Still, here's the catch. Finding a treasure like this isn't just about luck. It's about awareness. you need to know what to look for. So let me arm you with a collector's eye. First, always check the mint mark. You're looking for the D beneath the year 2006. Next, study the coin carefully. Hold it under bright light. Use a magnifying glass if you can. Search for doubling on the date, the lettering, or Lincoln's profile. Look for any off-center strikes, unusual lines, or distortions. These are red flags for minting errors, and red flags are exactly what collectors crave. Second, assess the condition. Does the coin shine like new, or does it carry scratches, dings, or discoloration from circulation? The fewer the marks, the higher the grade, and the more serious the potential value. Coins that appear untouched as though they just rolled off the press, are the ones that can explode in price. Third, and perhaps most importantly, get it professionally graded. Raw coins, those not certified by an official grading service, might hold promise, but without authentication, their value is speculative. With certification, the coin enters a new league, recognized and trusted by collectors worldwide. If you truly believe you've found a gem, this step could be the bridge between pocket change and financial windfall. But here's where the suspense builds. These coins are out there, hidden among billions of ordinary pennies. Some are still in circulation. Some sit in dusty jars, ignored. Some have been stashed away unknowingly in bankrolls or collections. Every time someone overlooks a coin, the odds tilt in your favor because fewer people searching means more treasure left undiscovered. And yet, the window of opportunity is closing. Why? Because awareness spreads quickly. As more collectors hunt for the 2006 D cent, the chances of stumbling upon one unchallenged shrink by the day. Once coins of this caliber are scooped up, they rarely return to circulation. They vanish into private collections, vaults, or museums. If you wait too long, you might be left only with stories, while someone else cashes the check. So let's play a little thought experiment. Picture yourself finding a 2006 D penny tonight. You rush to have it graded, and weeks later, it comes back certified at the top levels. News spreads. An auction is arranged. The bids climb. 10,000, 50,000, 100,000. The room is buzzing. Then the hammer falls at $500,000. Or perhaps, just perhaps, your coin shatters records and sells for nearly $1 million. Imagine how your life changes overnight. Debts erased. Dreams unlocked. A simple penny becoming your golden ticket. And if you think this only happens to seasoned collectors, think again. Stories abound of ordinary people, retirees, teachers, mechanics, who stumbled onto rare coins in pocket change and turned them into fortunes. The beauty of coin collecting is that the gate is always open. You don't need insider knowledge to start. You just need curiosity and vigilance. So I ask you again, what's hiding in your change jar? What's rattling in your glove compartment right now? Could it be the penny that transforms your financial future? Because here's the truth. Fortunes are lost, and won not in grand gestures, but in overlooked details. A tiny D mint mark, a flawless shine, a quirky doubling of a letter. These are the keys that separate a common coin from a priceless treasure. As we close, remember this: the 2006 D. Lincoln cent may look like the humblest of coins, but it holds the power of a lottery ticket, one you don't have to buy. The only price is your attention. Will you pay it? Or will you let another penny slip through your fingers, never knowing what it could have been? Check your change. Check your jars. Check every penny that crosses your path, because somewhere out there, perhaps in your very own pocket, lies a coin that could change everything. And if you're the one who finds it, you'll never look at a penny the same way again.